Hello, everybody, and hi. As you can see, things are a little rankly today. I got this a minute ago, like a minute ago, like a while ago. I got this a while ago in the God of War 4, or just God of War, because they didn't numeralize it, if that's a word. Um, Collector's Edition. It's a cloth map of. That's it. It's a cloth map of that world. And I guess I'm tapping into my Scandinavian DNA today. We're taking it to what is it, Midgard. Is that the only one that's not like a hammer or Heim? Because it's like, what was I gonna say? Heimdall. It's like Jotunheimer, Muspelheimer, Vanahammer. I guess Hell is just Hell. So maybe not, because then there's Midgard and then there's Hell. Sure, it's not Midgard Hammer. I was gonna do something with these today, but I don't remember. So I'm gonna pull until I do remember, or we just gonna do whatever. I don't know. I'm using the angels again because I'm feeling it, and because they were still out. Not just because they were still out. Like there's some old Norse up here. If you can see, you probably can't. There you go. There's a dragon right here. There's like I said, this is the first time I've taken it out, so it's still creased from being folded up. This must be a mirror. I mean, I guess it doesn't have to be a mirror. But I see a giant on the ground. He got something through his head. Well, a mirror made the world, so I guess it wouldn't be a mirror. Here is oh, what's his name? Jormungandr, the world serpent. You can see him curled all the way around. Well, maybe you can't. Yeah, not really. Well, you can see on the side. Where's his head? I think it's like right here. You see that? Okay, let me stop. The world serpent. Let's get into this. I'm not going to use the books today, even though there's a whole bunch of emanations and angels that I don't know. But that's fine. And for these, I really want to look at the background, or like what's happening. We'll start with one. Oh my gosh, I saw this. So before I started, I was just giving it a little shuffle from yesterday, or a little extra shuffle for today. And Malkuth and Tiferet came out, which is the ground and the heart, the kingdom and beauty. Bottom of the deck is Sahakiel, which is the angel of the sky. So we have the ground and the sky. Malkuth is one of those macrocosmic energies. It contains all of the world inside of itself. It exists not outside of the tree, but at the root of the tree. And I guess if I'm talking about Norse mythology, Yggdrasil type of energy, right? Yeah, this thing. I was like, I want to put it. I've been like thinking of using it for a minute. I know it's not a tarot clock, but today I was just like, why not? Let's do it. I'm feeling better. I don't know what this is gonna be, but I don't have to. The King of Raphael. I've been talking about that energy a lot. That's the iced over energy that is thawing. Speaking of thawing, it's warm here today. Snow is melting, but it means it's super muddy outside. Extremely muddy. But maybe it's that muddiness of thawed or melted snow, thawed ice and melted snow that makes the ground extra. I was gonna say wet and then I was gonna say moist, and neither word sounded uh, worse or better. It makes the ground extra moist and ready to take on a seed. Sorry. Um, Let me mature. I can be mature. It makes the ground super moist and ready to take on a seed. And because the ground is moist, then it's like this, the roots don't have to exert as much effort to establish themselves. So it's an energy that it's like tending towards foundations sort of building themselves in a way because the environment is perfect for it. It also speaks to, it's an energy, ew, it's an energy of it's like the foundation is more solid than you would have believed. Almost like you didn't necessarily intentionally build a foundation somewhere with this in mind, but it's like you were building it and you didn't even know that you were building it. And the ground is here and the water is here. I see, I was going to say a fish. I see a fish jumping at the water. I'm like, pretty sure those are dolphins. So we have dolphins coming out of the water. This one isn't as icy. Um, and this one carries more of a Neptune trident type of energy. Or trident. Neptune or Triton. So it's a playful energy here, but it's also like kingly. It's mature, but not it's like childlike, but extremely mature. And it's almost like once you mature so much, you regain your childlike splendor. And then the world is made anew. Because the world through a child's eyes is very different than the world through an adult's eyes. And not only because of experience, but experience has a lot to do with it. Or how we interpret experience. And what was it? Something popped into my mind right before I started. It was making, oh, what was it? What was it? It's like time to set the record straight, and now it's like begin anew. But begin anew, I know setting the record straight was part of it. And then like moving forward was another part. What is that? What's at the bottom of the deck over here? Oh, see, and it ain't. I have to be careful. The bottom of the deck is the Three of Ariel. And what immediately popped into my mind is a workshop. Workshops. I'm sorry, I'm a little distracted. Um, there is honestly, it feels like there's a little bit of Eight of Pentacles energy here. It feels like this is an Eight of Pentacles energy, but because this is something new, it takes the energy of the three. And again, it goes back to that energy of like once you've matured so much, it's not that you regress, but it's like you release all of the cynicism and all of the programs and all of the expectations that you've grown to hold, because those expectations, those things, it was rooted and grounded in like survival, like you knowing what to expect. But moving forward, it's like it's going to be important to allow things to be what they are, not what everything else has been. And that's why I feel like this 8 to 3 energy is. So it's like a workshop, in your own personal workshop. It's you doing something new. A lot of the tools may be the same. You may use them in a different way. You may not need the tools anymore. Or you may prefer like a more hands-on tool, or you may prefer a more like a digital tool, something capable of, once you establish the algorithm, then once you establish the program, then with the few clicks and with the input of some new data, it'll do complex computational models and things of that nature to output something for you in a way that you can use it. But the program, the algorithm, will only output something for you in the way that you can use it if you program it that way. So when you're creating these new programs, you also have to code for it to output data in a way that's readable. That's also a part of the program. It just feels new. And that's why, but it's like, again, it's like this 8-3 earth energy. Also, workshops in the sense of like, like when you go to a workshop, um, it's like a continued education type of energy. And again, that, I guess it takes me back to, once you mature so much, you demature. You don't demature and you don't regress. It's just like at the end of life, you're born again from an old man to a baby, but in the same lifetime. I've had many lives this incarnation. And so Malkuth, it comes in as an energy of a self-contained system that is also representative of the greater system around it, but there has to be separation. Because if there's no separation, then there's nothing that separates the system from the environment. And so it's like a physical separation, but it's quantum, right? Because it's like, even if you separate them, a change in one still produces a change in the other. While they are separate, they're not separate. Talking about paradox. And I think that's what this King of Raphael energy is. It's really, it's like finding a way to play but still perform your responsibilities. A lot of times, because life is what it is and because things have been what they have been, it's like when someone tells you to grow up, a lot of times this the assumption, like, give up on your dreams, work a job for money, settle down, have a family, blah blah blah, whatever. Now if you want to do that stuff, then that's on you, that's your decision. But it's like growing up but not getting any older in heart, or colder in heart. I want to pull another one. I'm gonna put this here too. There we go. Oh well, okay. I said it like that because it's the 5 of Ariel, which is the 5 of Pentacles energy. This one looks a little gorgeous. I love the colors. Bottom of the deck this time is the 8 of Michael. I feel like this is naysayer energy. It's not necessarily naysayer energy. I don't want to say that. It's just like, but how do I do it? Like, how do you do something that you don't know how to do? And I woke up this morning. In the past few mornings, I've been waking up just noticing things. And, well, not the past few mornings, a few mornings ago, when it was like, have you ever noticed that, like, unless your sleep is disturbed. When we wake up, it's a multi-part thing. Like when we go to sleep and when we're dreaming, in the dream, we never go like, "How did I get here?" Right? It's like this complete release of continuity in life. Now, sometimes maybe in a dream you're like, "Whoa, how did I get here? Oh wait, I'm dreaming," like Inception or whatever, right? But it's like when you wake up in a dream, you just accept things as they are and you naturally progress in that dream. And when you wake up, it's just like it's almost the same thing, but in reality there's an established continuity. Because like I woke up the other day, literally like I didn't move at all, didn't get out of the covers, but as soon as like my brain was in woke mode or wake mode, I got cold. And I'm like, I was just sleeping for hours. The cold ain't even bothering me. I haven't even moved. I'm still under the covers and I'm cold. Like, what? Or you wake up and you immediately smell something and it's like your systems just boot up immediately. Oh my gosh, I forgot why I was talking about that. Mercury has gone direct and my brain is still normal for me. Um, what I do love about this though is that there's an energy of like archways, either man made or natural, in these energies. And in both of these cards, the angel is prominently featured. And some of the other cards, it's like, especially that one, not especially that one, but you can notice in this one, like in these, the angel is more prominently featured. It's more of the main focus. And there's also an energy of archways and doorways. And I guess speaking of like waking and going to sleep, it's that phenomena of when you enter or exit a terminus, then it's like if you were playing a video game and every time you walk through a door you would see your character reload or whatever. Or when you walk through certain doors or when you enter certain areas, then you have to load up that area. And so I know I've heard or I've seen or read or one of those that like sometimes when you walk into a room and you forget why you walked in there, it's because like you exited one area and you entered another area. And the thought that you had was in the previous area. So when you entered that new area, it's like you lost it. And so there's almost an energy of things that are bound to certain areas. There's also an energy here of like thinking that the grass is greener on the other side, because it's like with the Five of Pentacles, you're standing outside of the building. Like, if only I could make it inside, like I would be warm. But you don't know if they got heat. It could be so cold outside that it's cold inside too. You can make it inside and still be cold. And with the Eight of Swords, I feel like it's lending to that energy of like, it's not seeing, it's not being able to see because of the inherent properties of like a doorway or a terminus or an archway or a port. And I think I was thinking earlier today about how we as humans make create so many boogeymen and boogie women and boogie people and boogie things. It's like if it's not one thing, it's another. We're always finding something to be subjected or suppressed by. And in some ways, it keeps us from seeing because it's like we're always shifting it. And maybe that's like in setting the record straight, there's also like an owning up as well. Like no longer passing the buck, no longer shifting the blame, coming into a space where we're going to take responsibility, because to not is to continue to forget. I used to annoy so many people because when I saw somebody, like there would be something that I would want to tell somebody about. I was like, oh, next time I see this person, I'm going to tell him about this. And then I would see him in real life. I'd be like, oh my gosh, Jeffrey. And then I don't know any Jeffreys. Actually, I do know a Jeff. Anyway. And then Jeffrey would be like, what? And I'm like, I forgot. I mean, if it happens 1, 2, or 3 times, that's one thing. But if it's like every time I see you, I'm like, oh my gosh. And you're like, what? And I'm like, oh, I forgot. Sorry. Then it's like, okay, well, when are you ever going to remember? And it's also that energy of like not being able to find the thing that you're looking for because you're looking for it. And it's not until you stop looking for it that you'll find it. And sometimes you'll find it in a space, in a place that there's no way that you can miss it. Like the number of times I've looked for my TV remote or my glasses or whatever, I've literally thrown everything off of my bed, including the sheets. And then I put the stuff back on my bed, and later it's just sitting right on top of my bed. I'm like, how is this on top of my bed? Like I literally took everything off of the bed and it's just sitting right there. So a little bit of brownie energy, I guess. Is that brownies? I don't know. Um, but that's also a part of it. And so here's this energy of like learning how to remember. Well, you can't learn how to remember. But with Malkuth off to the side, nothing is ever forgotten because even when it's separated, it's still reflected. Separate but reflected. That's what I'm gonna title this. And I'm not gonna do what I was originally gonna do because as soon as I hit the live button, I forgot what it was. Separate. I hope I spelled that right. But reflected. Separate and prepare. Not prepare. Separate is one of those words where it's like, when I say it, it sounds like separate, not separate. But anyway, separate. I guess separate. Separate. Yeah. Separate and separate. Anyway, they're spelled the same. Sorry. Um, because it's not. It goes back. Okay, that was on the other channel. No, or was it on this one yesterday? Yesterday I said it. It might have been on this channel. It feels like sometimes life is. It's like a video game in that like it's like one of those games. I've played a few of them where you can either travel through time or like alternate dimensions, alternate realities of the same space. Dimensions are realities. Yeah, I'm playing Persona right now, and it's reflected even in that. It's like when you can travel through time or travel through dimensions. Sometimes, if you hit a roadblock in one dimension or in one time, you go to the other and you find progress there. And then when you hit a roadblock there, you go to the other. And so it's this. It reminds me of the rise of two empires synchronized. Um, I guess I have the box right here, so I can just pull them out today. Why not? Hold it as I try not to tear this thing up. That's what it reminds me of. And I don't remember what else is on that card. Maybe it'll come out. Maybe it won't. It's the rise of two empires synchronized. But anyway, it's like sometimes life is this like inside outside game where it's like if you hit a roadblock externally, then you go internal and you solve it. And whenever you get stuck internally, then you look at your external. And it's this Malkuthian energy. They're separate but reflected, with the boundary being self. Prophetic dreams, inspired action, tapping into the other side. Tapping into the other side. Now, when I first made tapping into the other side, it meant something completely different, but also the same, I guess. Similar. Different, but similar. And that's this energy here. Because there's an energy of like forgetting and needing to remember. But it's almost like the angels are like, you don't need to remember. You just got to know where to find it. And if you can't find it inside of you, then look outside somewhere. If you're not finding it outside of you, then look inside. And when it's like the blockage, the barrier, the boundary, it's more difficult to navigate in, I don't want to say the arena that it's sourced in. But sometimes it'll lead you to the root cause. Okay, can I get one of these? Oh, that was way more than one. Can I get one of these, please? Thank you. Bottom of the deck is Embodying Hope, a Fount of Truth, a Tongue of Light. I love that energy. The card that... Oh my gosh, this is it! Do you see that? Do you see that? Oh my gosh, okay. Thank you! I was like, the card is not going to come out. They're not going to give me the card I was just talking about, but it's literally right here. The Rise of Two Empires Synchronized. It reminds me of that. A vision that ignites the self and the soul was the second part that I couldn't remember. Oh my gosh, I love that. This is why I like pulling cards. For a moment like this. This deck has done it before, though. It's done it before. But I was like, I'm not going to be so lucky when I'm like live, like when I'm recording. And it came out. Oh, thank you. Thank you. Goodness. And again, it's like it's not the power of Malkuth, it's just the nature of it. I don't even know if y'all can see these. Oh, y'all can. Okay. I'm actually gonna end this here. I was gonna do more, but I don't have to. And I think a lot of times it reminds me of Rahu and Ketu in Vedic astrology. It reminds me of what I've read briefly on Twitter of Rahu and Ketu. And I'm not going to say that Twitter isn't a credible source because there are incredibly credible people on Twitter who talk about things. Right? But, also I take it with a grain of salt because it's Twitter. Paradox, get into it. And it was like neither Rahu or Ketu is like good. In Western astrology, it's like we've made the North Node the good thing and the South Node the bad thing. But in that post, it was like one is like spiritually obsessed, inwardly obsessed. The other one is materialistically obsessed, outwardly obsessed. And it's about finding the balance in between the two, because if you lean too heavily in one way or the other, you're going to be off balance and it's going to fall apart. And that's what, okay. Because I think a lot of us, as we live life, we're like externally focused. Maybe a little bit more materialistic. Maybe a lot of the things that we want is like, I want this job, I want that person, something outside of me to bring closer to me to make me feel whatever. And when we get into religion or spirituality, or when we become more devout, it becomes inwardly obsessed, where we completely sort of disregard everything external. But a life is meant to be lived and enjoyed. And it's not to forsake the world around you, and it's not to forsake the world inside of you. And I love that. I was going to say the Eight of Pentacles came out, but it didn't even come out. Well, the page of Ariel was under that Eight of Michael. I think the page of Ariel is us coming into a space where we're going to begin living this. Because again, it takes me to this 3-8 Ariel energy. And the difference between 3 and 8 is 5. So there's something here about needing to understand, not needing to, beginning to understand like the magic, the power, the properties of portals. Portals being things that separate one side from another. And it's almost like living in the doorway instead of being on either side. Because when you're in the doorway, you can easily kind of move in any way you want. And it's a very like Janus energy or Janus. I guess Gemini energy. North Node is in Gemini. Because it sees in both directions. It sees both inside and outside, and it can interact and engage with either. Also Pisces, right? Pisces got 2 fish. So there's the internal fish and the external fish. And it's about like, and we're in Pisces season right now. It's about like getting those two on the same page. But it's not necessarily about getting them on the same exact page. It's about getting them in the same position. Because the outside will always be on the outside, the inside will always be on the inside. You have to find the spot on the outside that correlates to the spot that you want to be in on the inside. And you have to find the spot on the inside that correlates to the spot that you want to be in on the outside. And then you have to anchor yourself in those two positions. And when you do that, it's almost like it synchronizes them. It aligns them. It puts the world back in place. It's like the alignment, the magnetization, like when you get your tires aligned or whatever. It's like they're not aligned, so everything is like tilted. And in an ideal scenario, the outside would more one-to-one mirror the inside. But without that alignment, it's like things get blown way out of proportion, or they go like way left. Because, I mean, I have a map. I'm doing it on a map right now, right? Because it's like, instead of being here and here, like on opposite ends of the earth, it's like you're here and the other person is like there. And like, even if it was like this, we can go, oh, like, well, that's still like, there's a diagonal there, so that's still whatever. But here, it's not, something isn't lined up right. And again, it's like this 8 of Michael and this 5 of Ariel. It is feeling that lack of alignment, or feeling that misalignment. It's also not really able to get it properly aligned, because it seems that it can be quite difficult for us sometimes to hold both, to not be like super focused on the external or super focused on the internal, but to hold both. And it's the paradox that man is capable of. And that's funny because I was literally thinking about this last night. I don't know why, but it reminded me. I've talked about it before, but it reminded me of one of my old buddies who, like, I was complaining about my boss, excuse me, because she did something that I didn't like, I think, or she said something that I didn't like. I don't remember. And I forget why I didn't like her. It turned out she was one of my favorites. She was actually super awesome. Um, and I was talking to one of my friends, and he was like, "Oh, like she's the worst. She's dumb or whatever." I was like, "What are you talking about? She's just doing her job." And he's like, "Oh, I thought you didn't like her." And I was like, "Well, I don't like her, but just because I don't like her doesn't mean that she's not competent, or like just because she does this one thing in a way that I don't see as necessarily right doesn't mean that like she's completely and utterly incompetent at her job. Like I'm capable of holding multiple things at once. Like I cannot care for somebody. Like I cannot like somebody but still wish the best for them. Or I can like somebody and still be critical or analytical of them. It's not a complete like hate or love type of situation. Like you can find things that you like and appreciate in people, and you'll find things that you don't, or that don't necessarily fall into uh your holes. Their pegs don't fit into your holes exactly, all of them. And like that's gonna be everybody. And like we have the capacity within us to accept that. But I think that sometimes it's kind of lost nowadays. Maybe because so much has become uh extremized. What's that word? I don't know. Because so many things are extreme, I guess. A lot of times it's like we kind of sort of put ourselves in positions of like completely disliking or completely liking something. And it blew my mind. I was like, wait, okay. I was like legitimately confused because he was like, oh, like I thought you said you didn't like her. I was like, what? Because I don't like her, that mean that like she don't know how to do her job or something? I'm like, no. And I think he was confused, and I don't know. But it's that energy of like, because when you go so far into one, you feel the separation from the other. And not only do you feel the separation from the other, it prevents you from being able to see the truths that are also there. Because when we go to that extreme of the pole, it's like we reject certain truths, or we fail to see those truths, and then there are non-truths, or there are partial truths that we amplify or make true to justify the totality of the point that we wish to carry. And nothing is so black and white. I'm still stoked that that card came out. This is actually where I'm gonna end it. I think I'm gonna, yeah, this is where I'm gonna end it. So I hope you have a good whatever whenever you see this. I hope you found something in here that works for you. I would say this is something that I do a lot, especially within the past 2 years of my life, but it's something that I've kind of sort of always done, less consciously or less intentionally, or in a less focused degree at some points in my life. But whenever I come to certain junctions, I know that like there's going to be something inside or outside that just catches my eye, that resonates, that does whatever. And it's a sign. Call it a sign. But there are like like I talked about yesterday, there are many, 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 many signs. The universe, God, spirit is constantly speaking to you. We just see the ones that we see. We notice the ones that we notice, and we don't the ones that we don't. And it's not to, you know, obsess over or get worried over or whatever, but with this Malkuthian energy, it's like whenever you hit a blockage somewhere, the way is on the in the other space, because they're all connected, separate but reflected. All right. Did I say I hope y'all are acting in alignment to make that which you wish to experience your reality. If I did, I said it twice. If I didn't, there you go. Bye.